Today we're at Sky Rose Chapel at Rose Hills, and we're going to be talking to Lilian Burgess about Feng Shui and how it applies to cemeteries. And I'd like to ask Lilian some questions. So what is Feng Shui? Am I saying it correctly?
You are. Well, if you were Chinese, you'd say it a little bit differently, but Feng Shui is basically environmental design. It's a land-based art where you look to see the best places to live and to work and to prosper.
And where did it originate? Where did it come
It actually
from?
originated in ancient China. It was used by farmers to find the very best land to grow their crops, where to place the house. They didn't get flooded, and had the best benefit of the breezes. And it eventually went into also cemeteries, very important for where the ancestors are buried, so that where they were placed could give benefit to the future generations. And eventually moved into more of the cityscape and doing feng shui for businesses.
Okay. So it originated in China. And what is the basis of it, though?
Well, it's based on the idea that there is energy in all living things, and the earth is certainly a living thing. And so what you want to do is find out where crops will grow, or where you'll get the benefit of the morning sun, for example, into your home to cheer you up. And so it's based on some really practical ideas of what health is. And it literally has been used for thousands of years. It's many thousands of years old. And so most Chinese people believe in it to some degree.
And are there different schools of thought, different approaches to it?
There are. The original school of Feng Shui is called the Form School. And the Form School is based on the shape of the land. It's why we call certain mountains, Camelback, or another mountain will be called something else, Sleeping Giant. And it's the same principle. When you have land that has different shapes to it, you understand that certain things will happen with that land. And so what you want to do is take a look at what's the best places to live and work. And that branched off and became two different schools. One was the Black Hat sect of the Buddhist tradition, which kept the Form School alive but added the ritual. And then the other one was the Compass School, where they used directions on the compass to determine the best directions for living and working.
Then how did the application transfer or transmit into the cemeteries? Well,
cemetery feng shui was actually one of the original kinds. So first it was for farms, and secondly it was for cemeteries. Because of the belief in honoring your ancestors, one of the Chinese ways of living is to honor the people who have died. So you honor your mother and your father and your grandmother and grandfathers, and you make sure you bury them in a place that has wonderful benefit of natural energy. And so cemetery feng shui was one of the original kinds of feng shui, and really the kind for living people is called yang feng shui, which means energy, and the kind for cemeteries is called yin feng shui. And yin feng shui is an entirely different art altogether about where to place cemeteries and where to place the bodies in the cemetery. And so we're looking at what's the best place for people to be interred.
Okay.
And why.
So we have this feng shui school, these feng shui schools that have developed over the centuries. That the original origin of these were in some basic earth science and observation, and then over the years have been overlaid with religious things,
as well as some things that are probably considered more scientific in the Compass School. They really care about things like electromagnetic radiation and things like that. So they've added some scientific principles.
Feng Shui is kind of trendy in some ways. Even though we know that it's an ancient, science and art form, but what if I just don't believe in it? I mean, what if I just think it's sort of, it's kind of silly or superstitious? How do you answer questions like that? Because I'm sure there's people out there that think just like that.
Absolutely. It doesn't hurt you. That's the one thing I will say. And I think the basic principles are part of our natural instinct for survival and for flourishing. And so it certainly won't hurt to have lots of plantings in an area or beautiful flowers to look at. It doesn't hurt to face a certain direction. So therefore, if it's not harmful, it's certainly something that is beneficial even if you don't believe in it.
Well, I hope that helps those who are non-believers to understand a little bit about the basis in science and observation. Thank you, Lilian, for that insight.